Megapixels, schmegapixels. If you're looking for a new camera this year, there are plenty of models out there in a lot of different categories, from interchangeable lens to pocketable point and shoot, that have some in-camera features that might make or break your decision in terms of whether to buy it. These are 4 cameras, and I'm going to go through some of the more exciting in-camera features of 2010. First up, this is the Olympus Pen EPL1. It is Olympus's latest micro 4/3 camera. It has a detachable lens. It's a little bit smaller than a DSLR. One of the cooler features in this camera is that it actually has a guide on it. If you're a novice user, it gives you tips on how to use the camera from within the camera itself. Another thing it does, part of its live guide mode, is it will let you set things like the shutter speed and the aperture using plain English in the camera. So you're setting aperture, but it's telling you in the camera what that does, which is basically make the background more blurry or make it more sharp. So it's a very nice little learning tool. This again is the Olympus Pen EPL1. This camera also has a feature that is found in this camera, which is the Canon PowerShot SX210IS. This is what we call a pocket mega zoom. It is a very compact camera, but as you can see, it has a pretty awesome and big zoom lens. So this is actually a 14x optical zoom lens, which is pretty amazing for a camera this size. You can see it's kind of looks like a clown car, because how does this lens fit in this frame? So anyway, one of the cooler features of this camera, which is also in the Olympus Pen EPL1, is that it has a setting, a scene mode, that lets you take a picture of a large building or large objects. It makes it look very miniature. And what that's doing is it's simulating the effects of a tilt shift lens. You used to have to buy a special lens to be able to do that, and it change the perspective of your shot to make big things look very small. It's a very cool effect. It makes your pictures look like actual scale models of buildings. It's also in the Olympus Pen EPL1. So that's the miniature mode feature in the Canon, and it's called the diorama art filter in the Olympus cameras. The next exciting in-camera feature is found in the Sony CyberShot DSC HX5V. This camera actually has a lot of very exciting things going for it. One being it has built-in GPS, so this will actually tag your photos. It also has a built-in digital compass that'll let you know which direction you're facing in each shot. If you want to overlay all your images on Google Maps or some sort of map interface, that'll help you do that, because the geographical data will be embedded right in the image. So not only does this camera have that, but it also has a 10x optical zoom lens, and this is one of the new Sony cameras that has intelligent sweep panorama mode. What that does is it lets you hit the shutter button once, then just pan the camera, and it creates a panoramic image of whatever's in front of the lens. Very easy way to do that. Another thing I like about this Sony camera is that it has a mode called handheld twilight mode. Now, sometimes when you're shooting with a point and shoot, it's very hard to get a very crisp low light image. You used to have to, boost up the ISO levels, which sometimes makes a noisy image, or use the flash, which isn't the best way to capture image with a larger depth of field. It sort of blows up the foreground. What handheld twilight mode does is it takes actually up to 6 pictures in rapid succession once you hit the shutter, and then it'll overlay those images. They're set at different exposure levels, so when it overlays the image, it creates a very evenly lit and very crisp image. This camera has that. This is the HX5V again. Other cameras that have it are the Sony CyberShot WX1, and also this camera, the Sony CyberShot DSC TX5. It basically just looks like all of the other Sony cameras. This is sort of their shtick. They have the cover slide down thing and a little lens, Carl Zeiss lens here. However, this camera is drop-proof, waterproof, sand-proof, and it's a very rugged camera. It has a huge touchscreen on the back. Sony is saying that you can control this underwater. This also has the similar modes found in the HX5V I was just talking about. the Sweet Panorama mode, and the handheld Twilight mode. Pricing wise, this is a $350 camera, as is the Sony CyberShot HX5V. This is the GPS enabled one. This is the Canon PowerShot SX210IS. This is another $350 camera. And this bigger camera, the Olympus Pen EPL1, this is a $600 camera, and it's also an interchangeable lens camera. So there we go. These are 4 of the more exciting cameras in terms of in-camera features that we've seen yet this year. But there are a lot more you can check out on the website. We have a slideshow that has all these cameras and more.